Jai Bhim, Jai Mulnivasi, Jai Savidhan, Jai Bharat. Once again, welcome you all to MNT News Network. Today is Sunday, and as all of you know, every Sunday we are organizing the session in English, and that too we are organizing the sessions with particular occasions. And this time also, if you see the month of April, it is the month of celebration of our forefathers' birth anniversaries. So 11th of April and 14th of April. 11th of April, Rashtra Nirmata Jyotiba Phule ji was born, and 14th of April, Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar was born. And these two great leaders had given a legacy to the development of India. And on their birth anniversaries, we are today going to organize the special session related to the inclusive development of India and the thoughts of Jyotiba Phule and Babasaheb Ambedkar in this particular area, what were they thinking. And to discuss with this on the topic, we have our distinguished guest speaker, Professor Dr. P.S. Kamble sir. Jai Bhim, Jai Mulnivasi, Jai Savidhan sir.
Jai Hind, Jai
Welcome,
Samvidhan.
welcome you once again to our special session. And today we are going to discuss a very important topic. And I hope all the viewers will get and a very elaborate and informative information in today's discussion. Because most of the aspects, most of the issues that our forefathers thought of are still remembered today. What they thought before 70, 80 years or hundreds of years before, what they thought that is still today applicable. Their thoughts are today applicable. And definitely, as far as the economic area is concerned, definitely they had played a vital role. Their thinking was a very vital, and they had given a path for the development of India. So, without wasting time, we would like to know from you what were the thoughts of Jyotiba Phule ji and Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar for the inclusive development of India, and how it is still today it is relevant, and their thoughts are still applicable in today's economic area of India is concerned. Sir. Please, sir.
Ashish, I am very much thankful to you. My special thanks are to MNT English News Network because a very important and very significant discussion that this channel has organized. We are celebrating in the forthcoming weeks birth anniversary of Rashtrapita Mahatma Jyotirao Phule and Rashtra Nirmata, that is architect of India, that is Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. I am very much thankful to organizers. The role which both of these personalities have played in the development of India is really inclusive. Because talking about Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, he is known as a social revolutionary. He is known as a social revolutionary, and this was referred by this what we call it as this was referred by a very prominent personality in India, that is Savarkar. And Mahatma Gandhi ji also referred Mahatma Jyotirao Phule as a real Mahatma, real greatest one. Because the duties and responsibilities and the role which both of have played is really for nation building and development of the economy as a whole. Talking about Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, how he endeavored for inclusive development of India, and in the last part of my speech or my presentation, I will try to place before how the thoughts and policies of the Mahatma Jyotirao Phule as well as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar are applicable today also. What is their contemporary relevance so far as India is concerned? The role which Mahatma Jyotirao Phule has played for the inclusive development of India is he was a social revolutionary. Social revolution for the first time was carried out by Mahatma Jyotirao Phule. He very harshly criticized caste system, class system, and endeavored for how it can be eliminated. especially how the welfare of downtrodden and socially deprived communities is of crucial importance. In that direction, he has done a lot of things and also given a lot of thoughts and policies as well. For the first time, water was opened for the backward communities by Jyotiba Phule in the city like Pune. And all of us know Pune is famous for what? All of us know. Supplementary to that, as the part of inclusive development, he concentrated on the development of agriculture and farmers. Because agriculture was the dominant and prominent occupation of India, and farmer was the dominant prominent strata or prominent personality of society. And therefore, he criticized how the agriculture was there and how the agriculture was backward, and what were the factors and determinants which were influencing and responsible for backwardness of agriculture. How the tenant, how the landlord was responsible for the exploitation of agriculture and farmers, and as the result of that, how agriculture didn't develop, it became an obstacle so far as development of agriculture is concerned. He was very much serious about the progress and development of farmers, and unfortunately, farmer was very harshly, very greatly being exploited by the agents and middlemen and revenue collectors and all those, and therefore how his undue benefit or advantage of illiteracy, uh, non-unification was being derived by the mediators like landlords and inamdars and zamindars. He tried to place before us and carried out such a measures and programs and activities whereby, on the one hand, agriculture development can take place, maybe provision of irrigation facilities, maybe cultivation of agriculture on modern basis. These are some of the things which Mahatma Jyotiba Phule has placed before us, and that was relating to agriculture development and how the exploitation of farmers is very, very unjustifiable, and who is responsible so far as exploitation of farmer and agriculture was there, and what remedies are there in detail. Mahatma Jyotiba Phule has talked about and written as well. One more very important issue of development Jyotiba Phule talked about is that of education. He is the first in India who opened up education for the backward communities, for the deprived communities. He is the first in India. Her wife Savitribai Phule was the first who opened up school for the backward community girls and women, and education was made open for the backward communities. And he gave interview and submission to the Hunter Commission. And in that commission, he talked about what is the importance and significance of education, how the backward strata of the society has been deprived from education, and how it is obligatory, how it is necessary, essential to make primary education free and compulsory, and what role the government can play so far as educational development is concerned. These are the things which Mahatma Jyotiba Phule has talked about. He also talked about poverty. He also talked about how the problem of unemployment the deprived community has been facing. At the same time, he also suggested measures and policies as well. As the result of that, inclusive development of the then India will take place. While talking about Dr. Ambedkar, yes, Dr. Ambedkar is an architect of modern India. The foundation of modern development of India has been laid down by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was a cabinet level minister of three portfolios of three departments in the pre-independence period from 1940 to 46, and being labor minister, being agriculture minister, being water minister, being power minister, he laid foundation of economic planning and development of India in the pre-independence period. He played a crucial role as a labor minister, as a power minister, as a water resource minister, and since then the process of development has been started. And what he endeavored for inclusive development of India, how the agriculture can be developed, how the irrigation and power supply which is required for the development of agriculture and consequently development of farmers is possible to generate and provide. And for that reason, he set up Water Commission. He set up power commission, and thereby he endeavored for carrying out river valley development projects like Damodar, Hirakund. Such programs and policies were implemented exactly by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar as cabinet minister of uh, water supply and power supply, and labor, being labor minister. Lot of things he has done. Labor security, fixed working hours, then same work, same wages or salaries. There should not be permission to the women to work in the nights. Also, maternity benefits to the women. Lot of things he has done for the level welfare, being a labor minister. Actually, in 1947, he wrote one book, and the book was States and Minorities. Actually, that book was the memorandum of Scheduled Caste Federation. Scheduled Caste Federation was a social organization of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and he didn't know he will be the part and parcel of making of Constitution of India, and therefore, as the part of, or as a vision, as a visionary, he prepared a memorandum of Scheduled Caste Federation, a social organization, and it was published in the form of book, and the name of that book is States and Minorities. And in that book, he has given a model for inclusive development of India. He says there should not be any inequality comprising of economic inequality, social inequality, political inequality. And if inequalities are there, due measures are necessary to be introduced, and it is the sole responsibility of the government so far as enforce the measures that will tackle the problems of economic, social, and political inequalities. In addition to that, he also made a provision in that book. Actually, the States and Minorities is a proxy constitution. It is written in the form of constitution. Preamble is there, article is there, section is there, sub-article is there. And that memorandum Dr. Ambedkar wanted to submit to the Constituent Assembly, because he was not known that he will be a representative, he will be the part and parcel of making of the Constitution. And as a visionary, he prepared that memorandum. And in that, States and Minorities, again he talks about in the post-independence period, there should not be any discrimination, exclusion. Scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBCs and minorities or socially deprived communities should not be discriminated, excluded based on the social criteria like class, caste, religion, ethnicity, etc., etc. He was of the opinion that the proper economic system suitable for India, it is mixed economy, and both the government as well as private sector should endeavor for development of India, and the major role of the industrial development, that of the basic industries, heavy industries, to be shouldered by the government through public sector, and micro industries, medium industries, small industries, village industries, their development will be endeavored in the private sector. So both the combination of private and public sector comprising of mixed economy, that will endeavor for industrial development, and consequently the industry sector development will enable us in realizing and achieving what we call it as overall development of the economy, and that will be inclusive development. In the same States and Minorities, Dr. Ambedkar talks about education. He says education is a very powerful instrument for socio-economic development of the economy. It is very powerful, which can convert economies into economically backward economies, socially backward economies into socio-economically developed economies with the help of education. And therefore, education is everything for the socially deprived communities. And therefore, he mentions in that States and Minorities, there should be a separate budget for education. Education is a social good or service, and consequently, it is the entire responsibility of the government to undertake development of education in all means and all respects. It is the central government which is powerful. Therefore, central government should shoulder the responsibility of development of higher education, development of university education. State government should endeavor for development of secondary education, higher secondary education, so far as educational progress or development is concerned. Local government should try for development of primary education, but at the same time, all central government and state government should extend a very significant amount of grant and assistance to the local government, as the result of which primary education also will be developed. In addition to that, Dr. Ambedkar also mentions foreign education is also very much important. So there should be utilization and extraction and use of the foreign education as well, especially the education of relating to science, technology, relating to engineering, that can be superior of the foreign countries. So we should make use of that education, and there should be exchange of teachers from foreign countries to Indian economy into India, and exchange of students also is of crucial importance. As the result of that, foreign education, especially health education, medical education, science education, technology education, engineering education, that will be available in India, and that will be used for overall and rapid development of Indian economy as such. Especially the students from socially deprived communities, those can be sent to the foreign countries, and the provision of expenditure of those students should be made by the government in the budget. These are the very important provisions, very important thoughts and policies which Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has proposed in the states and minorities. He also talks about agriculture in the states and minorities. But before that, in 1918, he published one very important research paper, that is small holdings in India and their remedies. Actually, this is a development model of Dr. Ambedkar. Even he talks about agriculture, he says alone agriculture, isolated agriculture development is not possible. It should be supported by, it should be complemented by the development of industry. Because industrial development is a well-proved remedy, not only in a particular country, but across the globe. And therefore, for the development of agriculture of India, the development of industry is of crucial importance, and prominently, the over-dependence on agriculture is there. More than 72% population, when Dr. Ambedkar studied agriculture in 1918, he found that more than 72% population of India, of the total, was depending upon agriculture as a source of livelihood. And unless and until that agriculture over-dependence is reduced, that is, over-absorption of the working population into agriculture is reduced, we are not in a position, to recover, to revive Indian economy. That is what the provision, the suggestion and policy which Dr. Ambedkar has suggested. He says agriculture development should be supported by industrial development, and excessive manpower, excessive labor power absorbed in agriculture, that should be removed from agriculture and should be absorbed in non-agriculture employment, that is industrial employment. That is what he talks about. He says agriculture should be given a status of industry. Unless and until agriculture becomes industry, the people's perspective, people's approach looking towards agriculture as a subsistence will be changed. It will be transformed into commercial agriculture, into modern agriculture, and that will enable us in development of agriculture. Yes, the role of agriculture development of the government in agriculture development is very much necessary. In addition to that, we can make an experiment of cooperative agriculture development also, so far as agriculture development is concerned. In the states and minorities, again, Dr. Ambedkar says there is a need for giving representation to the deprived communities, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBCs, minorities. Their representation is very much necessary, and that can give justice, and that will enable in socio-economic development of the Indian economy. That is what Dr. Ambedkar talks about so far as inclusive development is concerned. For the information of audience, taking into account the feedback and the policies and thoughts of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, for the first time in the 11th Five Plan, the policy of inclusive growth was adopted by India. It was further continued in the 12th Five Plan. But after 12th Five Plan, there is no any discussion, no any debate on the inclusive development of India. Yes, the independent India especially tried to bring about inclusive development through 11th Five Plan, 12th Five Plan, but it didn't succeed to that extent which was desirable, which was required. And after 12th Five Plan, there is no any policies, there is no any discussion, there is no any debate about inclusive development of the economy. And the present state of Indian economy is very exclusive. It is very exclusive. Agriculture over dependence has not been reduced to the extent which was required, which was desirable. Excessive people are depending upon agriculture as a source of livelihood. And again, agriculture is a gamble on our monsoon. Only 40% irrigation development has taken place, and all other is a dry farming. And therefore, you find a lot of suicides of farmers are taking place. And Dr. Ambedkar was a leader of farmers and leader of agriculture workers. He carried out number of conferences and number of seminars so as to discuss and to communicate his thoughts and policies to the government in the pre-independence period. And he suggested, yes, there is a need for making provision of agriculture development on the one hand, and fair prices, reasonable prices, attractive prices to agriculture farmers. But unfortunately, that was not being accepted, and consequently, find Maharashtra is the first. It is higher. It is in first rank so far as the number of suicides of farmers are taking place. And in India, huge number, big number, suicides are taking place. So it is deviation of what thoughts and policies Dr. Ambedkar suggested and prescribed for agriculture development, and also for protecting for the development of farmers as well. Education, Dr. Ambedkar said, education is very important. It is a powerful instrument of overall development of the economy. But unfortunately, education is to that extent is not being endeavored to achieve its development. There is no separate for education. But expenditure on education is very meager and very insignificant. The data for 2023 tells us that central government and state government spends on education less than 4% of gross domestic product GDP. In 1966, Kotaria Commission suggested 150 years back, Chhatrapati Shahu Maharaj suggested at least 6% of income or GDP should be expenditure on education. Dr. Ambedkar said it is being a social commodity service, a separate budget should be there for education. But till 75 years, no separate budget is there for education. And expenditure on education is very meager. It is very insignificant. It is very smaller. It is very in lesser quantum. And that is nothing but it is deviation of what thoughts and policies which Dr. Ambedkar suggested for education development. In higher education, we have only 27% participation. Study by Basant and Sen tells us that we have potentiality to participate in higher education, 44%. But actual participation is only 10%. There is a disparity in gross enrollment ratio across the males and females. There is disparity across the social groups like scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBCs and minorities. But to that extent, we are not giving due attention, and expenditure is very meager. Same is the case of health. Dr. Ambedkar suggested in states and minorities, insurance provides social security, and therefore there should be a monopoly of the government on insurance, and every citizen of India should have a insurance policy, life insurance policy. Unfortunately, we are privatizing insurance sector very rapidly and significantly, and all public sector corporations we are privatizing. LIC is there, GIC is there, Oriental Insurance there, and private players, foreign players are coming into insurance sector. Again, that is against our, that's a hurdle in the social security network that can be provided, which was very much suggested by, prescribed by Dr. Ambedkar. Dr. Ambedkar said there should not be poverty, there should not be inequality, there should not be discrimination, exclusion, but the ground realities are different. Inequalities are growing very rapidly. Latest report by World Inequality Report 2022 tells us that 50% poor strata of the society is possessing only 7% share in the national income of India and 6.7% share in the national wealth of India. On the contrary, 10% richest strata of the households, they are possessing 67% share in the national income of India and more 68% share in national wealth of the country. If this is happening, what Dr. Ambedkar suggested, it is a totally deviation. It is total deviation of Dr. Ambedkar's suggestion so far as inclusive development of India is concerned. And the budget for 23-24, no provision, adequate provision for education, no adequate provision for health. Government of India, along with state government, spending less than 2% of GDP on health. And all of us have experienced during the Corona pandemic period how the health sector was very much important. And prominently, how the public health sector was very much important so far as providing health services during the Corona pandemic period is concerned. There is increasing poverty, and we have to realize sustainable development goals by 2030. And the first goal is zero poverty. We have defined poverty very narrowly. 47 rupees per day per capita in cities and metropolitan cities, and 32 rupees per day per capita in villages. That person is above the poverty line. Is it possible in 50 rupees to survive in the city like Bombay, in the city like Kolhapur, in the city like Satara? Not at all. Lunch is there, dinner is there, other expense, not at all. Even in any village, in 32 rupees, dinner, lunch, and everything, it is not possible. But even this narrower poverty line is taken into account. Crores of people are in poverty, and crores of people are poverty. It is just humiliation of India. We are talking about economic supremacy of India. We are talking about Vishwa Guru of India. We are talking about $5 trillion economy. We are talking about fifth so far as growth is concerned, third in the world so far as growth is concerned, but poverty is huge. And how we are going to bring about and realize zero poverty by 2030, it is $1 billion question. Supplementary to that, poverty was defined in a comprehensive manner with the help of multi-dimensional poverty index. And when the first report of world development came in 2015, it came with a figure 55% of the total population. It was 130 crore population at that time was below the poverty line. And recently in 2022, Niti Aayog has announced, has published a report about the multi-dimensional poverty index in India. And that report is also eye-opener. That report tells us that 25% of the population, based on the multi-dimensional poverty index, is highly intensive poor. And across the states, the intensity of poverty is different. In Bihar, we call it as a Bimaru states. In northern India states, poverty is significantly higher and greater. So if that poverty is taken into account, how we are going to realize and achieve sustainable development goal of zero poverty by 2030, that is a challenging, that is $1 billion question. Supplementary to that, qualitative and access to education in general and higher education is also one of the sustainable development goals. In addition to that, providing social food security is also one of the sustainable development goals. And at this moment, if 80 crore population is below the poverty line, if as per the multi-dimensional poverty index, more than 50 crore of the population is below the poverty line, how we are going to provide for food security? That is again the problem. In addition to that, there is a problem of education, there is a problem of health. These are the challenges. Those are at higher level and those are of greater intensity. The solutions have been given by both Mahatma Jyotiba Phule as well as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And therefore, Mahatma Jyotiba Phule is known as Rashtrapita, father of India. And Dr. Ambedkar is known as architect of modern India. Dr. Ambedkar was famous. He was international economist. He was not only international economist, he did his MA, he did his PhD, he did his DSc, PhD in foreign universities, Columbia and London School of Economics, which are in the first 5 to 10, so far as ranking of the universities of 200 in the world is concerned. And in those very, very prominent and dominant in this university, Dr. Ambedkar studied, he carried out research. And what research carried out relating to the problems that Indian economy faced, problem of East India Company government, problem of decentralization of finance, problem of Indian rupee, and all those problems Dr. Ambedkar studied at international floor, at international level. And he was very much felicitated. Columbia University declared in last 200 years, the meritorious student of this university is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And therefore, 14th April, his birthday is celebrated as Knowledge Day at globe, not only in America. And United Nations organization accepted that yes, Dr. Ambedkar is a knowledgeable person. And his birthday, 14th April, is a Knowledge Day, which is being celebrated across the countries in the globe. That is what Dr. Ambedkar suggested. Dr. Ambedkar, being a policymaker, done a lot of works for planning and development of India, for the development of water resources, for the development of the river valley development projects, for the welfare of labor, for the development of power. Lot of things he has done and laid a foundation of planning and development in India. And therefore, in the real sense of meaning, Mahatma Jyotirao Phule and Dr. Ambedkar are the actual pioneers of inclusive development of India. Further, Dr. Ambedkar, being architect of Constitution of India, he provided in the Constitution how the right to live can be protected, how the inclusive development can be done in the post-independence period after implementation of Constitution of India, how the role of private sector and public sector is there, how the right of education is there, how the education can be developed, how the public sector, private sector can play a role, what is the provision of representation or reservation. All those things have been incorporated in Constitution of India. Those were there in the states and minorities before independence. He, being an architect of Constitution, he incorporated all those things, and in the real sense of meaning, he endeavored for inclusive development of modern India, and therefore he is the architect of modern India. It is in the true sense of meaning. But unfortunately, the contemporary India is exclusively, heavily, largely, greatly deviating from what Jyotirao Phule and what Dr. Ambedkar suggested and done for the inclusive development of India, social welfare of all the people, all strata of the society, and it is just deviating. Education is there, unemployment is there, inequalities is there, poverty, unemployment. We have, India is a young country, and APJ Abdul Kalam wrote one book, Economic Supremacy of India by 2020. APJ Abdul Kalam was not a political personality. He was a scientist. He was a missile man. And in that book, he wrote, India is a young country, and that it is productive, the engine of productive growth. In the age group 15 to 62, more than 62% population is there, which is known as demographic dividend. And when we utilize that productively, Indian economy will be converted into economically supreme country. But unfortunately, we couldn't provide productive employment. During the corona pandemic period, in April 2020, rate of unemployment was 25%. The present rate of unemployment is about 10%. There is disparity in urban areas, rate of unemployment is higher compared to rural areas, it is lower. Unemployment is higher in the case of women or female, and it is comparatively lower for the males. It is higher for the socially deprived communities like scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBCs, minorities, but it is comparatively lower and lesser for the upper caste community people. These are the things which tells us that poverty is intensive. Education is just only 25% gross enrollment ratio in higher education. Number of things are there. Education colleges are suffering from understaffing, under teachers. Universities are suffering from understaffing. No grants are there. Number of things are there, and all those are just deviating what Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, being a father of India, what Dr. Ambedkar, being architect of modern India, laid down foundation of modern development of India. Just we are deprived, and consequently we are violating what they have done for the development of India that is there. And unless and until we understood what efforts and endeavors Mahatma Jyotirao Phule and Dr. Ambedkar have done for inclusive development of India, in what direction and to what extent, at what magnitude they have undertaken efforts for the inclusive development of India, unless and until those are understood, unless and until those are incorporated in the policies of the modern India, and those are implemented in the framework of Constitution of India, inclusive development of India is rather impossible. The effort was made, but we are deviating very largely and greatly. So it is urgent need of the hour to incorporate thoughts and policies and works those are done by Mahatma Jyotirao Phule as well as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar for the inclusive development of India, inclusive development of Indian society, and welfare maximization of everyone in the India, every citizen of India. That will be, in the real sense of meaning, actual tribute to Mahatma Jyotirao Phule and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar on the occasion of birth anniversary of both these great leaders and great policy makers so far as modern India is concerned. Over to you, Ashish.
Right, sir. Sir, very well elaborated. Both the forefathers, the high-level thinking and their vision is reflected from their writings and speeches and whatever path they had shown to us. Sir, while concluding this today's topic, we would like to know from you or your message to our viewers that this is there that what should be done, what should have been done by the government or what should have been. But
Yes,
actually,
Ashish,
the
very
government is
important
not
question.
planning or government is not doing anything. So it is now left to the people. So now the people of India or the organizations, social organizations or the intellectual class or the students in this particular field, what message you would like to pass on to them that what they should do to achieve this particular goal or particular
Very,
vision of our
very
purpose?
important question, Ashish, you have asked. Now we are widely debating from what Jyotiba Phule and Dr. Ambedkar have done for the modern development and inclusive development of India. Now, what is needed? First of all development policies should be formulated in the framework of Constitution of India, and everybody, every citizen of India should give a knowledge, awareness about the Constitution of India, beginning from the student to the policy makers to the bureaucrats and everybody. And all activities should be prepared and also implemented in the framework of Constitution only. It is need of the hour to play a very important role by the academicians like me. It is my responsibility to pay for this society, and I should pay by providing inputs how we are debating from what they have done and what we are doing to the policymakers, to the our representatives. So our representatives, political parties, should be away from politicization. Every decision, every policy should not be politicized. There should be welfare of the society. There should be welfare of the nation, development of nation, and in that direction, every political party should work. Social organization can play a role. They can play a role in creating awareness and reaching the inputs to the policymakers and how it is going wrongly, how we are excessively depending upon privatization, which is just exclusive, which is just enhancing inequalities of all types. So that role can be played by social organization. And we being academics, being researchers, we should play a very important role. And political party should also be aware that what is our duty and responsibility. Every decision should not be politicized. Nation is very important. Political party is not important. Person is not important. Nation is important. Welfare of the society is important. Equality, justice, that is important. Constitution is important. No any other document is important. So formulate the policies in the framework of Constitution and try to be rigorous, sincere, honest in the implementation and enforcement of the policies which are prepared and to be implemented. That will enable us in social inclusive development of India. Otherwise, inequalities will grow and that will be exclusive and discriminatory. So everybody, every strata of the society, every stakeholder of the society should participate and should endeavor for the inclusive development of India. Now it should become a people's movement.
Right.
It should become a people's movement, and all political parties, all academicians, all researchers should participate in people's movement, and that will be a pressure group on the government, and government will think very seriously. Farmers agitation has proved, yes, pressure group can change decisions of the government. Lot of things are debating from inclusive development, and unless and until social people's movement takes place, it becomes a pressure group comprising of from teacher, from student, from academician, from researcher to social organizations, social activists, social workers, political parties, and political activities as well. It will not be pressure will not be generated and created, and the policies of the government will not be changed, which are very much and urgently needed for social inclusive development of India, as the result of which justice and welfare will be realized and achieved. That is required, and that will pay tribute to the social revolutionaries and the architects of modern India, both Jyotiba Phule as well as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar.
Right, sir. Very well, sir. Very well passed on the message, and definitely each and every individual should think in this particular direction. If nobody is doing, then what is his duty to do to or achieve this goal? very well message. The message that you have given was really an inspiring one, and it foresights the vision of our forefathers. So definitely, our viewers will take this into their consideration, and will pass on this message to the entire to their relatives, to their friends, and to entire their social media, so that awareness is brought. Because every individual, if they are playing a role, then definitely there can be a change. And definitely, as you appealed that many more intellectuals or in this particular field who are the thinkers, they should come together and organize various conferences, various seminars, and different things to bring more awareness within the society, as well as creating a pressure group towards the government, so that whosoever government is there, they will have to listen to the people. That type of awareness and that type of pressure group is the need of the time. And if people act in that particular direction, they can get their rights. Thank you very much, sir, for joining today. And we
Thank
will
you. It
again
was
invite.
really a pleasure
Yeah,
for me, and I could do something for social awareness and for building of the nation, especially in the perspective of inclusive development. Thank you very much.
thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. We will again invite you on different session and different topic once again on some other day. And thanks once again for Momentum Network for joining today.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Jai sir.
Thank you.
So it was Professor P.S. Kamble sir who had joined and who had reflected the vision of our forefathers in the inclusive development of India, and he had passed on a very powerful and very need of the hour message to all the viewers. Definitely, let us hope all the viewers of MNT News Network, they take this in the positive way, positive direction, and work in this particular direction, so that the proper awareness is brought among the society, and the society can get their own rights. So very important information. So this particular information will be available in this particular link. So I request all the viewers to pass on this message to all their relatives, all their friends, and the entire social media, so that people will get this particular important information about for our forefathers, Jyotiba Phule ji and Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's vision in the inclusive development of India. Thank you very much for joining today. And tomorrow again we will meet at 8:30 p.m. with another topic. And tomorrow we are going to discuss Rashtrapita Jyotiba Phule ki Mullivasi Pahchan. What was the indigenous identity of Rashtrapita Jyotiba Phule ji? And we had with us as a speaker Dr. Hare Ram Singh Kushwaha ji, who is the Central Executive Committee member of BAMSEF organization. So he is going to elaborate on this particular topic. So be there at 8:30. And thank you very much for joining today. Jai Bhim. जय मूल्यवासी जय संविधान जय भारत।